Okay, so good evening. This is the April 11th, 2017 meeting of the East Hampton School Committee. I should let folks know right away that we have made a change in the agenda in order to facilitate conversation about issues in a substantive way. And so I'll just say that we're going to have announcements, correspondence gifts. We're going to have a couple of reports. We're going to deal with an appeal from our last meeting that a family patiently allowed us to move to this meeting. Then we'll have a presentation, and then we will have public speak before we move into discussion about subcommittee reports and the like. So I appreciate everyone's patience as we proceed through these. Superintendent Falsey, do you want to take care of the announcements?
I think you want to announce the East Hampton Media.
Oh, right, sorry. Hang on. Sorry. Yeah, I apologize. East Hampton Media, channels 191, 192, and 193, is looking for volunteers to help broadcast public meetings throughout the community. It's a great service, particularly for people who can't get out to be at the meetings in person, to be able to see them, and that will work best when we have as many volunteers as possible. If you are interested in helping to tape city government meetings, please contact Kathy Lynch, and the phone number, which is in the record, but is 413-203-1360. Thank you. Thanks for reminding me.
And now I do have a few announcements. The next regular school committee meetings are April 25th, May 9th, and 23rd, June 13th, and 27th. The Maple School 4th grade play Pirates will be April 13th at 6 o'clock at East Hampton High School. There is no school Friday, April 14th, due to Good Friday. There is no school April 17th through 21st due to Patriots' Day and spring break. Strengthening Families, a 7-week program, begins April 27th at Whitebrook Middle School. There is a half day of school on Friday, May 5th, due to teacher professional development. There is no school on Monday, May 29th, due to Memorial Day. And currently the last day of school is scheduled for Monday, June 26th, which is a half day of school for students. For community members or others who do not have children in our schools and want to receive the superintendent update, which comes out weekly on Mondays, please visit our website at www.epsd.us and click to subscribe under latest superintendent update. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nancy. Correspondence.
We received 2 pieces of correspondence, one from GLAD and one from Tony.
Could you speak up, please?
Sure.
Speak up, it's hard to hear you guys.
Okay. We received 2 pieces of correspondence, one from GLAD and one from, I want to say, Tony Modal?
Modal, yeah.
Modal. I did it right. And the school committee has read them, and I believe Nancy has responded to each.
We're in the process of responding to them.
Yeah. Thank you. And please avail yourself of the opportunity, if you can't be here in person, to correspond with the committee. Realize that any communication to any of us must be communication to all of us so that we can enter it into the public record. Do we have gifts? I don't think so. I'm just double checking to be sure that nothing has come in since no. Okay. So with that, we'll turn our attention to your presentation. Our student update on student activities, so please.
Well, last Friday we had our Mr. East Hampton fundraiser, and that went very well.
Nice and loud.
I can't hear you back here.
So last Friday we had our Mr. East Hampton performance, our fundraiser for SAD, which actually went very well. Was really well attended. Because of upcoming spring break, there won't be any activities or after-school activities coming up in the next week or before our next meeting. So that should be it for after-school events at the high school.
Yeah, and also, if it helps to slide chairs forward, feel free to do that, and we will try to speak loudly and clearly for everyone's benefit. Thank you for that report. So we'll now turn our attention to a family's appeal for the conversion, the phrase, Marissa, that you used at our last meeting, I think, of an existing seat to a school of choice seat due to change in residency. We heard the presentation, and we've had the information to read through for some time. And I would like to open the discussion by making a proposal that we actually override the recommendation. And I would propose that we grant Mr. Moore's appeal. Is there a second for that?
Second.
I second.
Okay, is there any discussion on the motion? It's been made and seconded.
I'd just like to say one thing. Based on the supporting documentation that he has provided us from the actually psychotherapist and his licensed social worker, I feel that this verifies his request and it provides us with the opportunity to override the situation on this one. I think it's an extenuating circumstance.
I agree, and we're so close to the end of the year.
And it's also my sense that, and I think this was confirmed last week, that the school's recommendation was based on their sense of what would be best for Mr. Moore and his family, and I think that my sense in conversation since then is that they will make every effort, as they would have if we had required a move to support a successful transition at the end of this year into next year, should the circumstances remain the same.
And again, I believe these are extenuating circumstances. So to go from, different procedures that we followed, I think this gives us the opportunity to approve it.
Other comments, discussion? Okay, then I'd like to call the question on approving Mr. Moore's appeal to the school committee. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. All right, so now we're going to move to a presentation on transforming school culture for equity and inclusion.
Yes, I've asked Principal Burke and Assistant Principal Wilson to be here this evening to give an update on the kinds of things that have been in place already and the plans that they have for the future to address the concerns that we have heard from our community. So I'll turn the meeting over to them, and they can give you an update on what's been going on in our high school and what the plans are for the future.
Good evening, school committee members, Superintendent Follansbee, and East Hampton family and friends. Thank you all for being here to support and provide feedback for our plans to move forward and heal our community by developing a transformative school culture with a strong foundation in equity and inclusion. I want everyone present here tonight to understand the depth through which I love the East Hampton community. My years as a middle school math teacher, high school vice principal, and now principal have been the highlights of my professional career. The relationships I'm honored to have had with my students, colleagues, and community members are some of the most important and personally fulfilling in my life. I would like to take this time to provide background on how we arrived at our proposal and address community concerns. We would like to share with you the steps we took immediately preceding and following the recent events at EHS. Prior to the student walkout, we met with elected student leaders to discuss the intent and plans for the walkout and to ensure the safety of all students. After the walkout, we met again with student leaders to hear their suggestions for actions we could take to promote equity in the high school. The students raised concerns that propelled us into action, as we were compelled to provide our school and the larger community of East Hampton with a strong message that we have been and will continue to be an accepting community that embraces all. Students were also addressed with a statement over the school intercom system to ensure them that we are committed to keeping them safe from all acts of hate speech and violence in any form. We wanted our students to be confident that we were conducting a thorough investigation and making sure we had all the facts so our response would be comprehensive and not reactive. That said, it became clear quickly that our students were asking for actions, and we are proud of the sense of urgency that they're able to communicate as the basis for our plans to take significant steps in improving our school culture. Following the meeting with students, we conducted 3 morning meetings with staff to be transparent with information about the event and to deliver the message that we stand in support of educating and providing a safe environment for all our students. We are proud that our staff members hold that common goal and were able to express what needs they have in continuing to provide a high-quality education in a safe space. We also spent a portion of an afternoon meeting answering staff questions, processing our personal reactions to the events, and collecting information about staff needs moving forward. Overwhelmingly, the staff felt like we needed a comprehensive approach to responding to acts of bias and violence and integrating professional and curricular development from diverse voices into our school culture. One group we felt it was important to support and listen to was our newly formed Diversity Club. This pin is a result of their initial efforts, planned months ago by our math teacher, Mr. Alex Alvarez, and a group of committed students. The club has taken the initiative in the past weeks to meet, offer support to students and staff, and plan its own actions for addressing the need to improve the climate in our school and include all students and community of color. Mr. Alvarez and the Diversity Club are one of many other programs we sustain at EHS to attend to the social and emotional needs of our students. Our guidance department, along with Ms. Wilson and myself, also met with an outside clinician to ensure that we're meeting the emotional needs of our students who are feeling the effects of these events. I am pleased to share that the guidance department has been and continues to support all students in need. In addition to listening to the staff and students who spent their days together in our building, we were also able to respond to hundreds of calls and emails sent from families and community members. We responded to questions in a timely manner, sent out an all-call to inform the community of the events, and started to compile a list of resources that we could consider in supporting the culture work that we are now prepared to do. Additionally, we had many face-to-face meetings with concerned family members and fully appreciated all the dedicated for healing our community. To be able to work through the suggestions offered, we decided we needed to pull in district leadership to guide our work in developing a plan for systemic change. Our Director of Curriculum has devoted much of her career to working with the integration of social justice professional development and curricular change in public schools. And after discussing our opinions with her, she was able to direct us to a local agency with the expertise and capacity to undertake this important and difficult work in a long-term coordinated effort. The Social Justice and Inequity Initiative at the Collaborative for Educational Services Northampton is directed by a team of diverse and committed experts in the field of equity in education. Dr. Sapphire DeYoung has a decade of experience working with local school districts to develop programming from everything to responding to acts of bias in school, to providing professional development and building a system of change that transforms curriculum and instruction, reduces the achievement gap, and promotes safe and inclusive school culture. Dr. DeYoung is also a professor at the University of Massachusetts Amherst and is able to communicate on the practical and theoretical matters of addressing school change. In fact, in a week following the student walkout, Ms. Wilson was able to accompany our Director of Curriculum and Director of Special Education to a social justice professional learning community meeting facilitated by Dr. DeYoung. We are incredibly pleased to be able to share the following proposal for the initial steps in this work with you tonight. The overall goal of the proposal from the Collaborative for Educational Services, CES, is to perform an initial multi-stakeholder evaluation to gather concerns, experiences, and suggestions which will inform the creation of a multi-year plan. The plan will be aimed at helping EHS to become a more equitable and inclusive environment for all students, staff, and community members. The initial project will provide the information necessary to develop a plan for change and improvement. These steps are a model that CES has used in several local school districts to improve their cultures in this way. To begin this initial evaluation, CES will develop facilitation questions, surveys, and processes that will be used to collect the data that will inform the development of the plan of action for EHS to become a more supportive, equitable, and inclusive community. This work will be completed by Dr. DeYoung and a small team of consultants from diverse backgrounds and expertise in conjunction with the CES Research and Evaluation Department. They will then conduct 11 or more facilitated forums. Surveys will be used at the end of each session to collect other data. We will analyze results and prepare a final report with recommendations. These co-facilitated forums will give students, staff, parents, and guardians an opportunity to have their voices heard and for their concerns, experiences, and ideas to be part of the development of a 3-year plan to address school culture. While the forums for students have been scheduled during school time this week to address the urgency of the situation prior to vacation week, we have assured students that participating in a forum is an excused absence and support will be given to those students to make up missed work. Additionally, more forums will be conducted after the vacation week, and time will be made available for school, after school, for students who need more opportunities to be heard. Staff, parent, and community member forums will also be scheduled for after the vacation week. Forums will also be held to hear from other district school staff members, students, and families. It is important that we advance this work beyond DHS and into every aspect of how we function as a district. From this proposal, we hope that all stakeholders understand our commitment to addressing the issues our students have presented as a long-term approach. We are dedicated to ensuring that this opportunity to include more voices in a collaborative community we are building at EHS, and we welcome this opportunity to grow, which will make us stronger. We will not be satisfied with anything less than a robust plan to reflect East Hampton's commitment to acceptance and equity. We know it is hard work to confront these issues of systemic racism in any community, and we feel up to the task to meet the positivity and full engagement. We welcome all community members to join us in building bridges that can pass on to future generations of learners in East Hampton Public Schools. We are now happy to answer any questions you have about our plans to move forward in both healing our community and the changes we expect to see in our culture.
Thank you, Principal Burke. And just as a matter of the public record, if we can have a copy of your remarks afterwards, that would be great. That way anyone who didn't catch all of them, which would include me, can read them. Are there questions, comments from anyone on the committee at this time?
The only comment I have is that the collaborative has a really nice program, so that's really exciting. I'm looking forward to that.
So are we.
And I do have a statement that I'd like to read in conclusion to this presentation. We cannot change what has happened in the past, but we can learn from those experiences. We appreciate the many members of our community and our students who have shared their concerns. I want to assure you that administrators and staff want the same things you want. The divisiveness that exists in our country and in our very own schools is keeping us from being the best we can be. Now is the time to come together to work collaboratively on solving problems that have been identified. I am asking you this evening to join me, our school committee, and our school staff in making our schools all we want them to be. Principal Burke has outlined the initial plans we have put into place to address the issues that have been identified. I would like to extend an invitation to any school or community members to join me in an advisory committee to explore all possible avenues and resources for continuing to work on improving the climate and culture in our schools. If you are, thank you. If you are interested in joining this advisory committee, please contact me. And if you just want to share your thoughts and ideas for how we can move forward in positive ways, please get in touch with me. I know that by working together, we can make our schools and our district become a model for schools and districts across the state. Thank you. No, that's your
Does they have any more questions?
public speak. That's your now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
That'd be awesome. Thank you. And I'll you know what? I actually,
Just give it to us.
perfect. I'll give it to you afterwards. So thank you so much. Terrific. Okay, so shortly we will move to public speak, but I wanted to just preface that with a reminder. correct. This conversation was an important one, but it is clear, or it was clear there, that we needed to extend it into this week, and we will extend the conversation for as long as people in the community have important concerns to share with us. Just by way of simple procedural things, and then I have another statement. We would ask that each person who speaks would come to the podium, tell us your name and where you live. We would ask that you limit your remarks initially to 3 minutes, and ask that you not speak a second time until everyone else in the room who would like to speak has had an opportunity to do so. Do not be disappointed if we do not respond to your remarks. We want to hear them, think about them, put them into our deliberations, and respond in due course. I think those are the basic procedural guidelines. I wanted to add a comment, reflected a lot in the week since we last gathered here, and just so that I wouldn't leave it out, I actually prepared something, so bear with me for a moment. So good evening. We face a critical challenge tonight and moving forward. How will the citizens, elected officials, and professional educators in our community best serve our students? The way we conduct ourselves in this process matters as much as what we try to accomplish, because so much of what concerns us today is about how we can promote constructive human relationships that model civility, compassion, and decency, the values that we hope to inspire in our young people. Neither students nor employees of the East Hampton Public School District should have their conduct evaluated in public view. While the concerns raised by parents devoted to the welfare of all children in the community about both specific events and the processes used to review them are of paramount concern to us as a school committee, we must proceed deliberately, thoughtfully, and in full respect of the due process rights of all people involved. We have changed the order of tonight's agenda to facilitate a civil discourse about how best to serve our students. People may disagree with policies and practices, and we welcome constructive criticism. We ask that anyone who can testify with evidence to the events under consideration to please do so in writing, addressed, and this would be true in all examples of this kind, but in this case in particular, to the teacher, to the building administrator, and/or to the superintendent in that order. After the superintendent reviews, if you have a sense that further communication with the school committee about it is necessary, you can then do that. I trust that all of this can be accomplished in a spirit of mutual cooperation and respect. So I thank you, and with that, we'll have public speak. So if anyone would like to speak tonight, please.
Hello, my name is Chris Abold, and I'm president of the East Hampton Education Association. I'm here on behalf of the association members of East Hampton High School to present a letter to the school committee. Dear committee members, EHS educators support and affirm diversity in all of its forms. We strive to create a community that welcomes and supports students to engage in an open and constructive dialogue and enables them to grow and learn together. As a group, we are unable to control circumstances outside of the building which affect our students. Despite this fact, we will continue to foster a space in which all students feel safe and secure to focus on learning and on growing as individuals. There is great reason to be concerned about events that have occurred recently in our school. As a group, we condemn hate speech. We condemn violence. We are educators who have devoted our lives to providing positive guidance to the children of East Hampton, and we work hard daily in our classrooms, in our clubs, and on our athletic fields to create a robust educational community where such actions are not only unacceptable, they are unnecessary. We have chosen to be members of the community, and we embrace our role in it. A vibrant community of students, educators, parents, and administrators is a complex machine with many moving parts. We have many challenges to address and to overcome, and we will accomplish this best by working together. To the students of East Hampton, please keep working toward unity. If you have concerns, Please seek out an adult you know and trust. If you want to get involved, please bring your concerns to the student council, join the newly formed diversity club, or find another positive way to make your voice heard. To the parents and administrators of the EHS community, the current rift in our school climate can be reconciled. It will take hard work, open minds, open ears, and compassion. We, the employees at East Hampton High School, are already hard at work. We are ready to listen and work with you to make East Hampton High School an even better place. Sincerely, East Hampton High School Association members. There are a few extra copies that I'll leave off on the side.
And we'll also have those up with the public record of this meeting. Is there anyone else who would like to address the school committee this evening?
Good evening. My name is Michael Demento. I'm a high school English teacher at EHS, and I have a letter of support that I would like to read tonight. We, the undersigned members of the faculty and staff at East Hampton High School, wish to voice our support for our principal, Kevin Burke. We recognize that there are significant issues that must be addressed to remedy the climate in our community, and that significant steps must be taken. There's widespread sentiment among the faculty and teachers and students that need training to raise awareness and facilitate communication. We believe that Mr. Burke is a dedicated, caring administrator, a leader with genuine experience as an educator, a principal, and a parent. It is our feeling that he is up to the challenge for the job we have before us, and pledge our support for the continuance of positive change in our learning community under Kevin Burke's leadership. And those who have signed are faculty members George Sampson, myself, Quinn Renahan, Sean Sheehan, Elise Anderson, Joan Bond Sr., Susan Mason, Rose Guerra, Kelly Brown, Alexander Alvarez, Paul Peely, Sophia Cheka, Kevin Druskowski, Catherine McDonald, Jared Orn, Brian Brown, Nellie Donahue, Amy Davis, Lisa McCullough, Paul Carrier, Sean Ulis, Karen Dupree, Eileen Cavlu, Gerard Benoit, Antigone Lively, Edward Wojcik, Brian Klein, Carl Kleberg, and Abraham Phelps. Thank you.
Thank you. People who would like to speak this evening. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Isabel Poirier, 129 Parsons Street, and I have an anonymous letter to read from a student at our school. But first, what I want to say after hearing what other statements have been read, like I know we have a list, and I think that's great that our teachers support our administration, but I just want to bring light, like who asked the students of our school? Who checked with the students who have no voice? Or the students who are too afraid to speak up? So from them, I have this letter. These demonstrations are a result of our administration's little doing to address issues of racism. I know at the meeting the administration had with our student body, they kept telling us that they couldn't disclose information due to privacy laws, but we weren't asking for a detail of anyone's punishments. What we wanted was for our administration to have a well-conducted dialogue concerning issues of racism. We wanted our administration to call out and declare themselves as a place that didn't condone racism the moment they saw racism, not after the student body had conducted a whole walkout. One time, a student at EHS told another student that he wished she would get deported, and students even said sexual things to the girls, which were completely uncalled for, and they threw things at the female student, both female students of color. These girls spoke to a teacher who then passed it on to our administration. They said they were going to talk to the boys. The female students never heard anything else. See, the problem isn't lack of punishment. It's more so the lack of attention to the deeply rooted issues we face in our school. Had we discussed racism and fully brought light to the issue at our school, these incidents could have been avoided. But instead, our administration just kept going forward with the punishment and not addressing the underlying problem. Another instance where this happened again was with the vandalization of both the GSA bulletin board and the We the People posters. Our administration said that they worked days to find who did these acts and that they gave out proper punishments. But they did nothing to address the hate those acts were conducted with. There's no dialogue after concerning how that type of behavior is not acceptable. They just handed out punishments and failed to address what was a growing issue. Clearly there's a problem when I'm seeing students making anti-Semitic signs in our school without further action to speak about the issue. Clearly there is a problem when a swastika appears on one of the boards in one of my classrooms. It's an issue when anti-Semitic and racist things are being put on top of the mountain. It's an issue that needed to be addressed long ago. So that was from the students. And I'm glad that we are taking steps forward to address the problem at our school, and I'm glad that we are making these great events where students can speak out, but they needed to happen long ago, before these kids got hurt. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to speak to the committee?
Hello, good evening. I'm Robert Mirapol. I live on Plain Street. I've lived here for 20 years, but obviously if you look at me, I did not go to nor did I graduate from East Hampton High School. I graduated from Hastings High School in New York. About 8 years ago, there was an incident at Hastings High School. A series of racial epithets and swastikas were painted on lockers throughout the school. The superintendent immediately, with the support of the principal, shut down all regular programming at the school and held a 2-day special conference. They didn't hire an investigation. They didn't start an investigation. They acted immediately. That's what we need. I think it is very unfortunate that when presented with an opportunity to act as an educator, you acted as an authoritarian. We talked about we can't change the past. Yes, Madam Superintendent, we can't change the past, but we can act on the future. And one thing we can do with the future right now is to act like an educator and drop the charges. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Noreen Nardi. I live at 12 Willow Circle, and I have a senior at the high school. Over the years, teachers have gained my respect. I have shown, I think, my appreciation. I always go to the conferences and the open houses. I communicate with the teachers regularly. Thank them all the time, because we have amazing teachers here. I was a part of the PTO. Back in Maple, I was a part of the PTO. We ran a coffee talk teaching parents how to do the math because we had no clue. I went to We the People competition twice with Kelly Brown, which was an amazing experience, and that alone gave these kids a voice and taught them that they can stand up for themselves. So thank you. And I'm currently treasurer of the Booster Club, even though she's done playing soccer. I hope I've gained their respect as well. I wouldn't be here if I didn't think there was a serious problem. I have a senior, as I said. I could turn the other way, but that wouldn't be the right lesson for my girls. What I'd like to do now, and a few of us talked about this earlier, I have a few testimonies or statements. I'm actually only going to read one because I'm too concerned to read the other two, and we're hopefully going to meet with Mrs. Fowlsby later in the week, and we'll be happy to provide them to you, but I just don't feel safe reading them out loud. So the one I have, one day, and I took all the names out, so I'm going to say blank when someone's name was inserted. One day I was approached by blank, and he said to me, "How does it make you feel that when Trump gets in office, you're deported?" I said that I'm not going to. He then said, "Yeah, okay, don't worry. We will visit you at the wall and throw popcorn over to you." This made me feel disrespected. And I had a meeting with Mr. Burke, and I told him about that and about the other kids saying the N-word in school and talking about everything. They just got spoken to and no punishment given. After the two kids, blank and blank, left the office, blank said to the other, "When I find out what N told us, I'm going to lynch them." Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jen Gertzma, and I live on Williston Avenue. I have a son who's a freshman at the high school. There was a question that was brought up at the last meeting last week, and I feel it's worth repeating because it's possible that I don't understand the full situation, and maybe I never will be, maybe I won't be able to have that type of information, but I'd like to know going forward what the policy is in terms of addressing student fights at school. A student was charged because there was a fight and he was involved in it. And this is, correct me if I'm wrong. So what will the policy be going forward in the same type of situation, possibly with different kids? Will the same actions be taken? Will the kid who throws a punch have legal charges pressed? I know that you can't control what happens outside of school by people who are private citizens, but will that be the policy going forward? Thank you.
Dear committee, how you doing? I'm Zachariah Balloon. I live in Ward Avenue, a couple blocks from East Hampton High. A couple days after the incident, I called Mr. Burke and I left him a voicemail, and he contacted me a couple hours later. And when I tried to ask him about what happened, he tried as much as he can to distance himself from whatever happened. And he described that what happened was outside the school limits, kids are fighting, it's out of our jurisdiction. And when I asked him, but there is a talk about some discrimination, racism, I would like you to clear that up for me. It was like, I'm not aware of any of that. And our school, it just, doesn't have this kind of problems. So my question to you, Mr. Burke, is what you have been presented right now in terms of future action, they sounds good. But are they really your ideas to move forward or just some kind of counterattack? Because a couple of weeks ago, you don't want to even face the problem. You are just trying to distance yourself. It's like nothing is happening. And from the testimony of parents and students, this has been going on for a while. And now when you are under the heat, now you are thinking about doing something. So is it about keeping your job or because you are doing the right thing here?
I'm going to ask everyone in the room, I would like to pause at this point and go back and remind folks, you're still entitled to speak, but the great difficulty that we face in this situation is that if we attempt to conduct a trial in a public forum like this, we are doing a disservice to everyone involved. So I will repeat my request and ask that if there is a concern that has been transmitted to the teacher who was involved, to the building administrator who was involved, to the superintendent, and that you have heard back and are unsatisfied with the response that you got back at the end of that, that then you can inform us, and if it is a matter of a personnel decision, we can conduct that discussion first in executive session. It's really important that we abide by this. I don't know how many other people in the room have great experience with this. I don't. And I will just tell you that from my perspective, it does not make sense to me that we make accusations and conclusions tonight based on the crowd response that we can elicit. It does not seem as though that will take us forward in the direction we want to go. I don't think anyone on the school committee, I speak only for myself, but I don't think anyone on the school committee underestimates the degree of fervor that people feel here about this situation. But any number of things have been brought up that are news to the body that at least nominally you're speaking to. And so the vehicle by which you bring those to our attention needs to be tailored in a way that is respectful to the employees of the school. It is not anything other than it seems to me, a basic respect for the procedures that we need to follow to address and potentially remedy any concerns that people in the community may have. So I would ask that you address your remarks to the committee, please. Ask that you address your remarks to the committee, please, and that we try to follow what we understand to be the best procedure possible. Okay? Right? If you want to switch, that's fine. You can come up here and speak if you'd like. You can come up and speak if you'd like.
May I just ask a quick procedural question?
But would you please just ask it here? I know that it seems difficult, but we've already heard from folks who can't hear in the room. People on TV cannot hear folks who are in the audience when they speak.
Yeah, sorry, I just had a procedural question. I was wondering if there'd be an opportunity for some question and answer feedback, or is public speak just a speech?
The public meeting laws, the open meeting laws in the Commonwealth are pretty strict about that. That tonight the purpose is for us to take information in and then to reflect on it, and in future meetings, public if possible, in executive session if necessary, to share our concerns and our conclusions with the superintendent. That's the process as I understand it. So even though people are anxious to get answers from the committee tonight, that in all likelihood will be a frustrated hope. We need to allow the building administrator and the superintendent to first hear all of this information and to try to establish the underlying facts as best we can, because we know we're dealing with situations where it's sometimes complicated to get a precisely accurate picture, and then to proceed from there. And they will share that information with the committee, and as I say, in executive session if that is the proper place for it. But we will return to this concern and address it, as you heard tonight prior to the public speak, in future meetings.
Okay, so I guess my question was, last week I did present a letter, I presented some, and I haven't heard any follow-up on that letter specifically, and I had a few questions. So you're telling me I have no opportunity to ask them?
No, what I would invite you to do.
Mayor has
Right, and Mayor, I'll let you speak in one moment if you'd just let me finish this piece. I think that the proper thing for you to do is to highlight the aspects of what you presented last week that still have not been addressed tonight. Some of what you asked last week can't be addressed in this space of time. Some of it can be. We might disagree about the amount of response, But we want you to continue to tell us what the concerns are and let us act on them. All that we're asking is that the communication around that be respectful of the rights of everyone involved in the community.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Please, I apologize before
no.
about saying let you speak. That's not.
That's okay, Peter. What I was going to say is it might be helpful if we just read what we've been presented from,
Sure.
on it. So this might answer some of your questions. So any member of the public may address the committee during public comment or public speak time, which is the portion of the meeting. After being recognized, the person should state his name and address, which we've already spoken about. Time allowed each person will be at the discretion, usually the 3 minutes, which we've talked about. In general, each person, should be allowed not more than the 3 minutes. All remarks, this is the part I think that will probably answer what you're looking for. All remarks during this period should be made to the committee as a whole, not to an individual member. In order to avoid possible violation of open meeting laws, the committee shall not engage in any dialogue regarding remarks made during the public comment period. And then dialogue regarding information on local events or public service announcements may be allowed. And a little bit further than that, some of the reasons for that, any existing city employee is afforded certain protections against conduct that could tend to harm his professional reputation, and that would include public airing or allegations. And any existing city employee is afforded the following statutory protections pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A1. And I'm not going to read you all that, but that is all about how a body goes into executive session. Okay? So I hope that answers some of the 2 questions that you had.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say something. I don't think the mic is on.
It doesn't work like that. I know.
I thought that's what
What it does is it works for the people at home. It's local access. So all of these work like that. All right. They don't microphone your voice.
In the room, you hear us with our regular voices. These are designed to pick up and amplify them for the cable production.
And I agree. We need a microphone there.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not necessarily sure how to start this, but since the walkout, I wasn't participating in it, but since the walkout,
And I apologize, can you just remind us again of your name? I may have missed it.
Yeah, it's Nicholas Boyer.
Thank you.
No problem. But since the walkout, again, I wasn't participating in it, but I went to a couple of teachers, and they said a couple of them did support the walkout. But what I have to say is, if the whole school committee is really trying to work towards the changing what their problem is currently, and to what everyone else's problem is to what they said when they got up here. I guess what I'm trying to say is to just work a little bit harder to do that, because I know it's vague. I apologize, but it's just like just to work a little bit harder to do that, because like. Lost of words. Okay. Just if there was a problem. Okay. Sorry. I had this in my head when I was sitting there, and I'm like, should I go up? And never mind. But I'm so sorry. This is very boring. I'm so sorry, guys. Let's see. What was I gonna talk about? Okay, let's just restart back at that point. I asked about that, and given the fact that they did approve of the walkout, then they did see beforehand that there were problems, and if the teachers saw that there was a problem, if they did support the walkout, I'm sorry if this doesn't make any sense, but then not only does the school committee might want to do something, but the teachers may want to talk about it as well if they haven't already, just to see if they've seen any sort of slur of hateful toward a race or sexuality in a classroom. It doesn't matter if it's the same race. It should be any racial word at all, any harmful racial word at all, or any word that's directed towards sexuality in a harmful way to be held accountable for. It doesn't matter if it's the same person or not. So, yeah.
Thank you. It is difficult to speak publicly, so I appreciate the effort and thank you on behalf of the committee. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak?
Salem Derby, 15 Westview Terrace. So I want to just add my 2 cents. I want to say, first of all, that I'm an ardent supporter of East Hampton schools. I think my testimonial is the fact I have 3 kids in East Hampton schools, and I teach in Northampton. So that's something. And I do want to say that, you know, this issue is important to me. And this is something that, you know, at the last, when I became a city councilor 12 years ago, my goal was to try to make East Hampton a better place. And I've seen East Hampton become a better place, but we still have some work to do. And I think that, you know, the one thing I want to say is a date, and that is October 8th. And that date is the date when I first called Nancy and Kevin to alert them to an incident that was happening at the high school that was greatly disturbing. As a parent, as a city councilor, I was mortified. What I was hearing was beyond the pale. I'm a high school teacher, so I see a lot of stuff. I know what happens in high schools, but this was beyond. And it seemed at that point, it seemed like it was pervasive. And so I shared my concerns, and it was met with reception. I didn't hear anything after that. But, you know, I wanted to make sure that I was doing my part as a concerned citizen, as a concerned parent, to make people aware of what. And so I think that that's an important date to keep in mind, October 8th. Because here we are in April of the next year, having to react to something that I feel like we should not have had to react to. There were clear signs that something was wrong. And to me, that's concerning. It's one of many concerning things. You know, as time went on, I'm busy. I didn't follow up to see what kind of action had been taken. I checked in with my son, who's a high school student, and his friends, and tried to, you know, see if things were still continuing. And it seemed as they were. It seemed they were not necessarily getting better, but maybe getting worse, which is the next time that I contacted the administration, which this time was by email, not phone. And that was also met with reception. I felt like they heard what I was saying and were concerned about it. However, you know, I think that I did have a personal conversation where this particular incident involved what I felt was a threat to the school, and that was concerning. It was concerning enough that I sent it to the police chief, as well as the principal and the superintendent. And when I was able to have a one-on-one, basically what I was told was, well, I know the guy, you know, it's not that big of a deal. And I felt like it was a big deal. And this was prior, again, to the events that happened. And so I think from my perspective, you know, as I saw what did eventually unfold as kind of the culminating point of all of this and the reason why we're here, you know, was missed opportunities. And within those missed opportunities, it had a pretty profound effect on people that I really care about. I got to say that I'm not just someone who, you know, wants to give to my community in a one-dimensional way. You know, one of the things I love to do is to coach. And so I've coached these kids in basketball since they were in elementary school. And they became my family. They became just like my kids. And to see what ended up happening to them, it was pretty, all right, so I'm a PE teacher, wellness teacher. I break up fights. I do it often. I mean, I try not to break up fights that often because I try to prevent them from happening. But in my, 12 years of teaching, I've had to break up fights, serious fights, where I've had to pull kids off of other kids. And I'm like, whoa, there's blood. Like, do I have blood on me? That's so. And not once has one of those kids been pulled out of school in handcuffs. Not once has one of those kids been charged with a felony. And I would say if the new precedent at East Hampton High School is to charge our kids, the kids that we love as a community, with a felony for throwing one punch, that is an interesting standard. And I would say, you know, as I come to the end of, I didn't prepare my remarks, but as I come to the end of what I have to say, you know, I feel like what we need to do is we need to shine a light on this. This is not a time to cover up. This is not a time to circle the wagons. This is a time to confront what's happening head on and deal with it. It's the time to deal with it because, you know, as a community, when you deal with something head on, you are doing the right thing. When you circle the wagons, you're and protectionism, and like I get it, I know it, I've experienced it, but this is something that needs to have light shine on it. I would be wondering if other fights, because I know that fights have happened at East Hampton High School, if those children were arrested and charged with felonies. Just wondering. So I feel like that's an important point. So my final statement is, please, due diligence, which I have full faith, but don't hide. Shine the light. Look at this and see it for what it is. Thank you.
All right, well, my name is Matt Zazula. I am a student at EHS, and I just have a couple things to say. What's been happening with the racism around the school? I was at the altercation. I witnessed the whole thing. I spoke to those involved before and after the altercation. And yes, it was not right that he said a racial slur. It was not right that racism was brought into this. But I would also want to say it is not right that it was a 4-on-1 altercation, and I don't see where fighting needed to come into this. One reason is it was over social media, it was not in school. Second thing is, the individual who said the racial slur was not saying it to the individuals who were in the altercation. And one of the students who was in the altercation is the age of 18, which that could be considered assault. The other students were under 18, and I would like to point out that they were not handcuffed and taken out of school. They were handcuffed at the places that they were outside of school, so they were not taken out of school by handcuffs. People say that the individual was racist, but what I have to say is that it's reverse racism. Please. I was respectful to everyone else. Please. It's reverse racism. Because, yes, it is a racial slur, but one of the students in the altercation was Muslim. The other one is Dominican.
So can I caution you here?
Oh, can
in
I
the
not
same
use
way,
that?
in the same way that I've tried to caution, and I realize
Sorry.
I've not been successful. I think that that we would like you to make the broader point that you'd like to make, but again, this is, and I trust that the community will find forums where people can constructively talk about broader concerns around this. But I really think that when we begin to describe in detail students who are identifiable, we run the risk of violating their rights. And so I think we should not do that. And if I'm wrong, you'll have the opportunity in the future to do it. And if I'm right, we'll have avoided a situation. So
I apologize for that. I'll continue on. Everything that's happened, I believe that this should not result in Mr. Burke being relieved of his duties. Yes, stuff happens. Fights happen, arguments happen, yes. But what I don't know how to word this, but what I think is that they were giving, I told them that it doesn't need to result in this. I know many of my friends said that it does not need to result in this. So my question is, why would they do it? Why would they have to bring violence into this? That's my main question. Another thing is that I know most people in here know generally what happened, but they're hearing stories from their kids. Yes, they could have been at the fight, but were they contacting both sides of the fight before and after the fight? Which I would like to know who was, but that's a different time. But I just believe that Mr. Burke should not be relieved of his duties. Yes, something happened, but he's trying to change it, trying to make a difference in East Hampton Public Schools. Another thing is that people say that there's racism in the school, but I'm not gonna lie, there are racial slurs in the school, but there most likely are in every other school out there. It's not just our school. Okay, hey, I was respectful. I would appreciate it if everyone else was. Yeah, that's all I have to say. All I have to say is, Mr. Burke, I look forward to shaking your hand next year as our principal when I receive my diploma at graduation.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Allison Christopher, 7 Emily Lane, and I'm a senior at East Hampton High. And I just want to start off by saying that I'm going to try to be as respectful as possible, but in a time like this, I find that very difficult. I'm not gonna lie, I'm very sad, I'm angry, and I'm frustrated with how things have been dealt with. This has been going on for a year and a half, different situations that maybe not everyone is aware of. And that's upsetting to me, that this isn't, a community should be communicating. It's as if no one even knows what's going on with each other anymore. It's as if no one even wants to talk unless it's an argument. And I've seen all these things happen at the high school. And some now involving racism, but some not. Some involving teachers and students. Some, it's difficult to even explain, and I apologize. But to say the least, I'm disappointed in the administration. And I know that some have really tried, and I know that situations can be really difficult at times. A fight, obviously, is not an easy situation. But I feel like the situations just haven't been addressed in the right way. I feel like students really want answers, and I understand that there's privacy issues, but I feel like across the board there's no answers being given at all, whether involving privacy or not. There were questions addressed at the open assembly that we had after the walkout, and I don't feel like they were addressed fairly at all, and I feel like that needs to happen again. I feel like we need to have another talk like that, and that questions do need to be answered. I think that a lot of the administration feels that all of these issues started after the walkout, and that really bothers me, and the fact that the administration doesn't know what's going on with the students in their own school. The fact that the teachers weren't there to help the students when they needed it most, and the fact that the students were just ignored. And I don't know, I really think that big change needs to happen, and I appreciate all of the work now that's being put into this, but it needed to happen a long time ago, to be honest. And like, you can try to correct mistakes now, but we've given a chance. And this has been going on for a year and a half, and it's sad that it's had to come to this, but it's been going on for a year and a half and nothing's been done. Teachers have been notified about things that have happened. They've tried to bring it to different administration. They've brought up different issues, but nothing's been addressed fully. And that's really sad that we're all having to sit in this room now and talk about something like this and bring up so many issues that are occurring because no one's been able to address them when they're the problem.
Amber. I live in East Hampton, and I've been going to East Hampton schools all of my life. I would like to start off by saying once again, I appreciate how the walkout was handled. I appreciate how our voices are getting a chance to be heard. The administration has been trying to protect us by having police helping us, by having teachers listening to us, but I think that in some cases the protection is going a little bit too far with certain students. I think that we all have opportunities at the school, but some are unfair, unequal. Some students get more representation, some students get more punishment, some students are more strictly dealt with than others, and I feel like we can't baby and hold these students' hands and try to lead them through life, because when they get out in the rest of the world, there will be no teacher fighting for them. There will be no parent being able to say, don't attack my son for what he said, don't do this, don't do that. What they say is they're saying, and it's going to be a consequence. Whether I don't appreciate violence, I really don't condone violence, but others do. And I just think that we need to learn more love and acceptance at the roots. And everyone keeps talking about the roots, and I really do feel like these were issues that should have been dealt with when we were way younger, and now when we're in high school and trying to find a place in our world with these ideas that have been instilled on us that just don't have room in this community because they're bigoted and unappreciated.
Who'd like to speak to the committee?
My name is Erin Zazula. I am the proud parent of an EHS graduate as well as a current student. I've wanted to say something for a while now, and I'll keep it brief. Saying that the incident that took place at the high school is wrong does not make what prompted that incident right. Saying that what prompted that incident was wrong does not make what happened at the high school right. There's not much that's right here. What's incredibly wrong in my eyes is seeing a 16-year-old boy, a student at the very high school that we are trying to help and allowing all students to be heard, mocked and talked about in the crowd that's here advocating that every student voice be heard. We are advocating for teaching moments. I think we missed a huge opportunity in that one. I think this community has showed its colors in the sense that we want to point fingers instead of handing out our hand and holding the hand of the person next to us while we work as a community, undivided, to stop hate, to stop racism, to promote goodness, to promote tolerance. I stand here today willing to hold anyone's hand in this room. I applaud you all sitting on this committee tonight for hearing all of the people's community members, their points of view. You have a very difficult job on your hands, and I support you and your current administration 1000%. Thank you for your time.
So I'm Natalie Poirier, 129 Parsons Street. And if anybody wants to hear a lot of the things that I had to say, we were here last week. It seems like a year ago. We were here last week, and that's all right there for everybody on the internet. So even my friends in Long Island, where I'm from, watched it. So there was a lot of wonderful information that was shared. So I really challenge anyone who has certain feelings to go watch it. So there is information out there. We have to be careful because there's a serious case, but I love what that last woman just said, and I'd love to just I have statements outside. People didn't feel comfortable talking, so they wanted me to read them, and I think we had talked yesterday, anybody is welcome to send any information, so that's fantastic. I appreciate everyone here. I think it's commendable for you to be here, all of you, and I appreciate that, and I want to say thank you, because it's the East Hampton I know. I have two things to say, but I'd like to just say that I think that I love that we all want to hold hands. I think that's awesome. It's the only way we're going to get through this. It's clear. And It's unfortunate that people feel like people are being attacked, and so many people said such great things, so just give me a second to wrap my head around it. But one of them was, this is such a great forum, and every particular person came up, and maybe they said something, and then we handled it with such civility. I commend you all. And I think that this is what needs to happen in the high school. And I think that I don't believe anybody did anything of malicious intent. I think it came from lack of knowledge, lack of education, and fear. I'm scared to stand up here right now. I see so many people that I love and respect. Not everybody knows me. I don't want to get into it, but I have been entrenched in our town. And if anybody questions me, they can just go and learn, as I have tried to learn about all of you. I have tried to learn about the boys in the parking lot, all of the boys, not just the boys that did the hitting, but the boy who was injured. And I want to be very careful about not being disrespectful to anybody, because that's very important. That boy that got up here and spoke, I commend him. That's his right, and that's amazing. But the beautiful aspect about this is we have these wonderful teachers who have taught us when to do it, how to do it. And unfortunately, it's so scary. This is scary stuff. My background is troubled adolescent social work. I've had to go into gang fights to try to figure something out. I've taken hits. I have gone in when other people are running out, like our wonderful East Hampton Police Department does for us, for all of us. They do their best, the school does their best, but unfortunately, even myself as a parent, I didn't do my best. I was too afraid, and it's very easy for us to talk about all different race. I only know me. I only show up here. I can't imagine if I didn't feel comfortable or I felt I was going to be attacked, as I feel slightly, maybe I might be right now. I'm not afraid anymore. The kids gave me the power, all of the kids. But unfortunately, there was so much that we could have done sooner. But if I didn't feel comfortable doing it, how could we ask the kids to do it? And why didn't the teachers figure it out? Or one of the most important things I'd like to say is, why couldn't we figure out how to ask for help? Because asking for help is so huge. And it's scary because you seem like, well, maybe I'm incompetent. But no, this is hard. We're navigating into a very tough world. We've come out, and I think all of us can agree, there was misinformation. We didn't all know what was happening in the school, but some did. Some stayed silent. I don't want to judge why. I just want to say that I forgive you, and that I hope that we can find a way to move through it. But as that individual brought up the fight, I was going to try to be really careful, because although we talk about someone who's 18, this boy also came to this town with very little support. I was a kid like that. And so the kids introduced me to him. I've done my best. And he said to me a few years ago, it's the teachers and this community that taught me not to hate. It's the teachers in this community that taught me that I'm worthy of something. And he was about to graduate from high school, hopefully, and go to the Air Force to fight for our country. And, you know, it was said to me, I don't want to fight. I didn't want this. But when all of the posters are being attacked, eyes are being cut out, toy guns are being shot at it, that's okay in a way, because these kids need to learn that that's not okay. They need to figure it out. And when there's pro-Trump and anti-Trump and this and that, that's okay, because we have to discuss it, but we can't get rid of everything and only keep one thing, because then we look like we're not taking care of the situation, and our job is to teach. I am learning, they need to learn. So it's beautiful that this boy came up here and he said he had feelings, and he has the right to say that. But the issue is, why did it take this to bring that out? Why can't we just go right in from the beginning and talk about it? There is an issue here. That clearly has to be addressed. And unfortunately, I felt silent because I wanted to come. I wanted to come in sooner, but I was afraid. And as I heard more stuff and more stuff, I actually, tell you the truth, I was like, oh, I don't want to believe it's really happening. Not in my town. Not in this town. Not in the town that when my son used to run out of Maple Street School to give me one more kiss, and because I worked there, he didn't know if I was working or not, he would see me, I would get scared that he was going to run out, and then I would be gone, and then he would be lost. And we would never want to lose one of our children in this town. But Officer Milky, he drove up, because he used to kind of watch over all the schools, and I don't know if he still does that, and he saw that I was scared, and he said, I'll talk to Luke. So he talked to Luke. And then after that, anytime Luke would see a police officer, Luke would run and say, they're coming to get me, they're coming to get me. He would get really scared. He told me I could say this. He was only in second grade when this happened. So
what I did is I called one of our East Hampton PD and I said, something's going on. Like, Luke is really scared. So Officer Milky, which a lot of the kids used to say Officer Milky Way, he invited him down to, he's gonna kill me, but he invited him down to the station and he introduced him to all of our police officers. And he showed him, Luke, don't be afraid when you see us. We're coming to protect you. We're coming to do the right thing. We're coming to take care of you. And I was sharing this story because I'm trying so hard to fight for this town and do the right thing for all people involved, because all of us, we are not trying to take down a person. We're trying to lift up a community. My daughter heard the story and she goes, I think what needs to happen right now is we all need to go down to the police station. We all need to feel supported. And Officer Milky gave Lukey, oh God, he's gonna kill me. Officer Milky gave Luke a pencil, and Isabel turns and she said, I think all the kids at East Hampton High School need a pencil right now from the police department. I think that we all need to come together, but most importantly, we can sit here, and there are letters. There's a lot of letters here that people are giving me. I've collected so many narratives. I don't want to seem like we're trying to take someone down, but I have to hear these voices. I have to hear that these people, they're saying 5 separate racial provoked incidents prior to the fight. This is a person who sent this to me. It's worrisome to me as a community member that people, I sat on the committee with Nancy Follansbee because I believed in her, and I still do. But I'm confused, and I know she's listening. I know it. I know all of you are. But we work so hard. I used to do all of the connections with trying to get people to come to our town, to not leave school choice. And I did, and it's true. And I want to do that again. That's what I want to do. I want to be able to tell everybody that this is the town that we're all part of. I am part of the problem. And I stand in front of you and say it. I should have come to the teachers who taught my child to stand up for her rights. I should have came to Mr. Burke. But I was too afraid because people that are speaking up, and I'm sorry, but it's the truth, and I'm going to try to attack anybody, they're being, there's a popularity contest, and they're being attacked, and I'm seeing it. And I'm not seeing it because teachers are running to me too, even though I have a lot of information. The kids are seeing it. This is what the kids see. This is what the kids are telling me. We can all keep talking till we're blue in the face, and we can be separated and divided, but that woman right there, she said, let's hold hands, so I want to hold your hand. I want to hold your son's hand. I feel bad for everybody that was in that parking lot. And unfortunately, if you did see what happened, which I did, I saw a different story. I tried not to see color and race. What I saw are kids, all 4 of those, 5 of those, how many kids were there, trying to figure out an adult problem in the back of a parking lot. Where were we? I ask everybody here, including myself, and including this committee, where were we? Where are we now? We can keep fighting till we're blue in the face, but where is that going to get us? Where is that going to get us? I believe that everyone's going to go home tonight. I can't imagine how this is on Mr. Burke and his family and his wife. I can't imagine the pain he's feeling, or Nancy Follansbee, Peter Gunn doing such a beautiful job, all of you. Mayor, I don't want to attack anybody. This must be hard. Those kids came out, and I ran there to go to the march. I believe the kids should stay in school. I don't believe I have a right to say this in burning flags or doing anything. I have had people die as they go to protect the citizens. I love our police station. But unfortunately, we got some problems, and we all know it, and all of us are too scared to say it. All of us are too scared to say it. I am not scared anymore. And part of me, people are saying, you're going to have to leave this town, Natalie. You're not going to be safe. I'm not afraid. If I'm killed tomorrow, even though I know that's dramatic, I have a flair for the drama, I'm glad. I'm glad for this experience, and I thank the kids. I thank this whole opportunity. There's a huge job for everybody to do here. It's a challenging time. But I do want to say, and I know we're talking about this fight, there were other boys also involved. And I stand here and I ask, as these other boys are clearly acting out some microaggressions within the school, and we're hiding them because we are freaked out. I am freaked out. Who's helping them? Those kids, all those boys in the parking lot, that was my job. And I think I'm going to actually go back to that job because I feel like it's so important. We would have closed the doors. I would have had the teachers' respect. I would have made some rules, and I would have discussed why this particular boy right here, he felt discriminated upon. He has a right to feel that way. I think that that's fair. And I think we would have been able to address it, and maybe he could have had an opportunity to learn that although some people say words, things happen. I don't understand what it feels like to be called the N-word. I will never. I don't know what it feels like to be called all of the terrible words that I don't want to say. But I could go on and on and on and on, because this has been my week, and on, because it is really happening in our school. I can't do it anymore.
So at this point, I'm sure that there may be other thoughts and ideas. I think that we get to a place where it's time to step back and reflect on what we've heard. There are also, by contrast, perhaps mundane but essential matters that the committee needs to address. And all of us, I think, need to get some rest so that we can do a good job in all of our jobs tomorrow, or maybe even later tonight. So I'm going to ask that we draw the public speak to a close, unless there's firm objection in the community, and that we can resume a conversation in the future. I will conclude this by echoing the plea that many people have expressed in a variety of ways, to continue to look for common ground and common understanding, as difficult as it is, because we all only perhaps have the benefit of seeing the situation from our own perspective. It's hard to embrace all the information and all of the viewpoints that are expressed, but I think we can do it. I'm confident, in fact, that the people in this community can do it. I'm confident in the students, as they've displayed again and again over the last few weeks. I'm confident with the teachers and the professionals who educate our teachers, and with the many citizens here and those who aren't here tonight, but I have great confidence in them as well. This is not an attempt to have us all go home feeling great. I don't know that anybody will. I think we'll all carry something out of this room that'll be tough to resolve. But I think we can lean on each other as we make a good faith effort to resolve that, again, with the interests of the students, how we can best serve the students at the forefront of our considerations. So with that, we'll resume with our regular agenda, and we look forward to hearing. I know that Pat was kind enough last week to invite people to come to future school committee meetings, because public speak is available at all of them. And even if there isn't something pressing on the agenda, perhaps by coming and contributing your thoughts, we can do an even better job. So thank you. We'll move to discussion now. Subcommittee reports. Finance Subcommittee, we have minutes submitted in our records.
I move that we accept the minutes.
Sue's asking you to speak up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the motion is to accept the Finance Committee minutes.
We need to vote on that.
Right. We don't need to vote. Right, we don't.
Okay.
They're just submitted as a report. Thank you. Policy Review Subcommittee.
We have not met. We will be meeting after our next meeting on April 25th. No report. We'll be meeting on April 25th.
You want this to go to the school committee?
Yeah, I spoke last.
Right. If there are documents that are coming in that we need to submit, I'll collect them and make sure that Sue gets them. So if there are documents that people are sharing, just feel free to drop them off here. Oh, perfect. You gave it to Sue directly. That's great. She'll make sure that we all get them, and I'll make sure that all the others are posted. Terrific. Thank you.
She doesn't have those, Peter.
I hope so. My only concern is these are the only copies of them that I have. So I would love to be able to make copies of them for the committee first. I don't know what your deadline is.
What about the statements that that you read?
Peter.
Is it possible
Yeah.
for you guys to wait until after we're done?
All that I would ask is that you allow us to conclude with the business of the meeting,
Thank you.
and then all of the documents that we've discussed will be available. It's really just a matter of a few moments. I apologize for the inconvenience.
Who wants to tell Peter?
Right. Yep. I'm just trying to make sure that I've got copies of everything.
You're right.
This document is, okay. You know, I know that a lot of folks have left, but I do want to amend what I said before, and I apologize for interrupting. It is important that the documents that are shared with us, to the extent that it is possible, be signed by someone so that we can get back to you to ask questions, particularly if you raise significant issues. And perhaps the folks who've left may not get this message, but it's really difficult as a member of the school committee. Again, I'm speaking just for myself. I occasionally get anonymous letters written to me, and I can do a limited amount of follow-up on that, but I will never know if I have satisfied the person, because I don't know how to get back in touch with them to say, did I understand your concern? Did I address all of the concerns that you raised? Here's what we as a committee have decided. So whenever it's possible, if you can, because I realize that one of the documents that I have in front of me may be being signed by a group, but there are some where it's not clear who we would get back to. So I think it's important, whenever possible, to please submit documents that are signed. Okay. Sorry. So the policy review subcommittee will have a meeting on April 25th, correct?
Correct.
That's what we said. Okay. Terrific. CES update.
At our last meeting, we reviewed the documents. We're all in the process of going through the evaluation for the director of the collaborative. So William Deal presented us with all the evidence, and then all of the liaisons from the different districts that make up this board will be filling out and finishing the evaluation process, and then that will be shared later on.
Thank you. Marissa, education policy update?
In the interest of time, knowing that today was going to be a long meeting, I don't have a lengthy update other than a reminder that on April 27th, Thursday, 2 Thursdays from now, we'll be hosting a forum on the foundation budget review and legislative initiatives to implement revisions to the state funding formula for local districts. And we'll have Tracy Novick from the Massachusetts Association of School Committees there. She is the whiz on the foundation budget and is going to give us an introduction to understanding the formula and the recommendations. And we'll also have the Chief of Staff from Senator Sonia Chang Diaz's office. And Senator Chang Diaz is proposing the bill that would implement the recommendations. So I would hope that anybody who's available would be able to make it 6 to 7 p.m. on the 27th at the high school. At the high school, great.
6 p.m. Got it. Thank you. Okay. Now we have a matter that we were going to address last week that we moved to this week, and again, we face the pinch of time, but I think we should at least gather information. So, Casey?
So, I brought this to the school board, and it was talking about a resolution, particularly concerning, immigration concerns and the nature of the environment, particularly with the ICE gaining access into our schools, and the safety of our families who are currently here. Forgive me, I apologize for being a little, after hearing all the events from this evening, I had brought this to the attention of the school board before the events that had occurred, because I was actually concerned about what was going on in our schools and how our families were feeling and if they were feeling safe. And so I wanted to bring this to the school board, so or the school committee. So this is a resolution from Amherst. Should I just read it, or should we?
I think it would be helpful. Pardon me for interrupting, but I think it would be helpful for you to read the resolution. I think that the preamble is also important, but I think you've summarized parts of it, and I think I would add that in context, it's always unfortunate people leave, and I'm sitting here thinking that this was something that was on our agenda prior to the recent events at the high school that I think shows proactive attention to some of the underlying concerns that we heard expressed tonight. Not all of them. I don't mean to be hectoring, but I think that this is part of why I'm confident in this school committee and in this community, because we've had initiatives that Marissa has undertaken and others among us on a variety of concerns that are related to what we were talking about tonight. Not directly, but they're part of the web that you build as a safety net for as many of our students as possible. So I think I would ask that you read at least the resolution piece of this.
Okay. Okay, so this is the resolution from Amherst Public Schools, and it's titled Rights of Undocumented Students and Protocols for ICE Access to Schools. And under the resolution, it reads, existing district practice requires all visitors to state the reason for their visit and be cleared for entry into a space with students. Consistent with that practice, any immigration and customs enforcement employee intending to enter any Amherst Public Schools property must first notify the superintendent and the district's general counsel of its intention in person, with adequate notice and copies of a warrant signed by a judge or magistrate to the superintendent and general counsel can take steps to provide for the emotional and physical safety of its students and staff. Should I just read the whole thing? Yeah. Okay.
Please.
The superintendent and or general counsel are authorized to ask for the ICE agent's credentials, ask the agent why he or she is requesting access, and ask the agent what evidence of reasonable suspicion exists via a warrant. If all of this information is not provided, the superintendent will not allow access of ICE into the school setting. Immigrations and Custom Enforcement, ICE, refused entry to district property unless the superintendent and district counsel are provided with a warrant signed by a judge or magistrate authorizing ICE entry onto the property. 4, Amherst Public School staff shall not ask about a student's immigration status or that of the student's family members, and pursuant to FERPA, shall not disclose without parental consent the immigration status of any student. Amherst Public School staff will not refer students or families to ICE if they inadvertently or intentionally disclose their immigration status. Within the next 90 days, the superintendent shall develop a plan, one for training teachers, administrators, and other staff on how to respond to ICE personnel who are requesting information about students and families and are attempting to enter district property, and describing procedures for notifying families about ICE efforts to gain information about students and families and how to support students whose family members have been displaced because of ICE. And lastly, additionally, the police subcommittee of the regional school committee is charged with reviewing existing district policies regarding immigration and making any recommendations for new policies or changes to existing policies as are warranted. And I do understand that Amherst is a sanctuary city, so the language will be different here for us. And so I move that we develop some language to respond to this and come up with our own resolution that is appropriate for the city of East Hampton.
Thank you. I recall that previously we have worked on things related to ballot questions that entailed a similar process of looking at what other school boards in the Commonwealth had done, and then took that as a sort of a working document, established a subcommittee to craft, rather than giving it to policy. I'm not opposed to giving it to policy, but if that process was satisfactory in the past, I guess I would suggest that in this case, that Casey, if one or two others of us were willing to work with you, to see if we could create language and bring a formal proposal back. This is informative from an educational perspective for us to consider, and I think talk with people about how it might work in the community. Does that, what's the sense of the committee about that? Other comments?
That's my sense of the best way to move forward on this. I'm definitely in favor of it. I think we should. I think there's some research that needs to be done in terms of what would be appropriate for our district. But yeah, I think I'm definitely for it. I think it's really important.
Can I entice out of you of volunteering to join Casey?
Of course.
That's great. That's what that was what I was
I'd be
hoping.
happy to work.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Then I think this initiative is in good hands in terms of nurturing it to the next
So we'll come up.
to the next step.
Do we have to post that? I guess that's a committee meeting, so we would have to post
It's a subcommittee. It's a
Okay.
special. Wait, I gotta use the hour's late, so I want to be sure I have the language here right. It's a working committee that's going to be made up of 3 school committee members. So it doesn't form a quorum. So it doesn't have to be posted.
Okay.
I think I'm right about that.
Is it a subcommittee meeting, Peter? or-
No, it's not a subcommittee. It's a working committee that's working on a draft to bring that we might refer then
It's
to
like
the
it's like
policy
when
subcommittee.
Marissa and I worked on the draft of that letter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Which will make it easier for us to meet.
they're going to run a tape of this to say this is why you should know Robert's Rules of Order before.
I want like a book. Like that we
Yeah,
just
yeah.
have
Well, there is a
sitting
book,
right here.
and I once upon a time, despite what you've seen, I read it.
I want it.
Okay, thank you very much.
I want
And
it
I know
easier to
because
read.
the hour is late, we will not talk about this any further this evening.
Yeah.
Are there any other matters for discussion that anyone on the committee would like to bring up? Thank you. And we have a series of matters for action. And these include warrants and payroll and 2 sets of minutes and then a vote for us to be a school choice district.
Okay. Do you want to do it? You want me to do it? Okay,
We
this
both-
is my first time.
Oh, that's fine.
I move to approve the school payroll dated April 13th, 2017 in the amount of $509,232.23.
Second? Oh, wait, motion made. Motion?
I'll
No,
second
wait.
it.
You seconded, thank you. Motion has been made and seconded to approve the school payroll dated 13 April 2017 in the amount of $509,232.23. All in favor? Thank you.
I move to approve the accounts payable authorization for payment dated April 13, 2017 in the amount of $190,967.13.
Second.
Thank you. Motion has been made to approve the accounts payable authorization for the payment dated 13 April 2017 in the amount of $190,967.13. All in favor? Thank you. And we will need signatures, folks.
These do not need signatures.
Those
These
are
have
done,
been
yeah.
signed. I move to approve the school payroll dated March 30th, 2017 in the amount of $485,262.33.
Second.
Thank you. The motion has been made and seconded to approve the school payroll dated 30 March 2017 in the amount of $485,262.33. All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
I move to approve the accounts payable authorization for payment dated March 30th, 2017 in the amount of $411,816.70.
Second.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded to approve the accounts payable authorization for payment dated 30 March 2017 in the amount of $411,816.70. All in favor? Thank you. So then I think we have, so that's warrants and payroll. And remember, we'll need signatures on that. I think next we have minutes. There? Yeah, I bet you that.
Are they in here?
Yeah, I think they're in there. We can use this language.
All right, motion to approve the minutes of the school committee meeting
Of the March 21st.
for March 21st, 2017.
Second.
Motion made to approve the minutes of the March 21st school committee meeting. All in favor? Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Great, thank you.
It looks like, I'm looking for the second date.
Yep, you're gonna sign that one, but then I think right after that page.
This
Shoot.
is March 28th, not.
Right, yes, so we'll do the same thing for March 28th.
Motion to approve the minutes of the school committee meeting for the date March 28th, 2017.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the March 28th, 2017, I apologize, the minutes of the March 28th, 2017 school committee meeting. All in favor? Thank you.
I abstain, Sue.
We had one abstention on that, Sue. Great, thank you. Okay, so we've done this. We also have a motion to approve East Hampton to be a school choice district. So I would move that we vote to have East Hampton be a school choice district.
Is that anything different than what we've?
No, we currently are.
Okay, cool. Then.
Correct.
Yes, you
Yes,
just
and
have to do that every year.
It's an annual,
To continue.
you have to opt in
Oh,
every
okay.
year. So we're opting in. We're in the game.
Second. Motion by Peter.
I made the motion. We got a second. Motion has been made and seconded for East Hampton to be a school choice district. All in favor? Aye. Okay, now, we have to adjourn. No, we do not adjourn. We move into executive session. Here, because we have a matter related to union contract negotiations that we don't discuss in this forum, we discuss there. So, I move that we move. Okay? And I thank all of you hardy souls who've hung in all the way through. This is very, very impressive of you.